Meditations is for hippies. Brain wide wake-up call. Pain will come. Buddha was the first neuroscientist and biohacker. A jobless hobo. Fight or flight center. No more conventional sleep. Who owns the copyright? Making you dumber. The mother of all meditations. Way cooler on Instagram. Social media brain rot. Eat and reproduce immediately. Must have skill for any decision maker. You've heard about meditation hundreds of times and probably even tried it once or twice, then dropped it because it didn't work, or did it? Everyone from podcasters to monks, who are now also podcasters, and even some neuroscientists promise you heaven on earth. Inner calm, growth hormone spikes, divine clarity. But no one talks about the most important benefit of meditation, the one that comes with a heavy price and some brutal side effects. So if you're ready to dive deep and probably never emerge back in the same reality, here I will share neural nuances, my own deep insights and a full tutorial. And we'll see why it's a must-have tool for any decision maker, especially entrepreneurs. My name is Edward Domin, I'm an entrepreneur, biohacker, and here to share health and performance-related tools I tested on myself. And I think that meditations is for hippies or jobless people, not for businessmen. To understand how meditation works, we need to grasp a general architecture of our reaction. Let's run a little roleplay. Imagine this. You're driving, someone cuts you off. It will be point zero on our timeline. The signals from our eyes goes through the optic nerve to the thalamus, the brain relay center or signal distribution center. And the thalamus sends signals to the amygdala and to the visual cortex. Can you skip all these nerdy words and go straight to the point? I promise, the whole reaction will be less than 2 minutes. You shouldn't memorize the names, focus on functions and the timing. Your amygdala, the ancient fight or flight center, or centers, one in each hemisphere, fires the alarm before any conscious thought. By the way, activation of amygdala takes only 0.1 second, quite fast. Amygdala means almond in Greek. Within 0.2 seconds, it activates the hypothalamus, our brain master regulator. Hypothalamus engages 3 reactions via brainstem. First, locus ceruleus, somewhere here, which means blue spot in Latin, increases norepinephrine release in the brain, boosting alertness and reaction time. It's like a brain-wide wake-up call, except the prefrontal cortex. Norepinephrine suppresses it and shifts the brain from thinking mode to survival mode. And it gives a noticeable effect almost immediately, half a second. Thalamus, by the way, means inner chamber, and hypothalamus simply means below the thalamus. But again, focus on functions, the names aren't important. At the same time, rostral ventrolateral medulla modulates autonomic arousal. Heart rate, blood pressure, breathing rate and muscle tone begin to shift, preparing the body for action. And the same region sends signals to the adrenal glands through the spinal cord. And adrenal glands start secreting adrenaline and noradrenaline. Noradrenaline and adrenaline additionally increases heart rate, vasoconstriction, pupil dilation, sweating, mobilization of glucose and fatty acids. It reaches noticeable effect within a few seconds and peak level within 30 to 60 seconds. Sympathetic activation goes also extremely fast. And yes, amygdala also directly activates ventral tegmental area, VTA, to increase dopamine secretion. And coming to slower hormonal reaction driven by the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis. Hypothalamus, pituitary adrenal gland. Within 20 to 30 seconds, hypothalamus, the brain master regulator, starts secreting corticotropin releasing hormone, CRH. And pituitary gland, within 30 to 60 seconds, starts secreting ACTH, adrenocorticotropic hormone, which travels to the adrenal glands, and adrenal glands start secreting cortisol, our beloved stress hormone, within maybe 1.5 to 2 minutes. and it reaches noticeable effect within 10 to 20 minutes. Cortisol, our beloved stress hormone, increases blood glucose, suppresses inflammation, increases attention, and further suppresses prefrontal cortex, which blunts decision-making, impulse control, and working memory. Have you ever forgotten your speech during a presentation or public speaking, or started mumbling when talking to someone attractive? It's simply a stress reaction, suppresses your thinking abilities and working memory. Cortisol also shuts down some unnecessary functions during an acute stress: regeneration, reproduction, and digestion. Actually, cortisol isn't a bad guy. It's a very important and beautiful hormone if secreted properly. Check my episode about cortisol, where we explored how to measure it when it's good and when it's bad. Have you noticed the pattern? All that reactions goes on almost autopilot, suppressing the prefrontal cortex, CEO of our brain, responsible for cognitive control or executive functions, if you will. Wait, what? All that is subconscious? No free will at all? By default, yes, no free will, unless you train it. We'll get there soon. We role-played a role situation, but the amygdala lights up in response to any reproduction or survival-related information. Food, pain, social threat, social status, basically any popular content in any social media is specifically designed to trigger our amygdala. That's how it's becoming popular. We can't resist to watch information that's ranked as survival and reproduction related. Top priority. I already want to survive, eat and reproduce immediately. And yes, my heart rate is elevated. What about shutting all that machinery down? How fast can we switch it off? Good question. Norepinephrine release stops in 2 to 5 seconds. Full clearance, 30 seconds to 2 minutes. Autonomic arousal, full clearance, 3 to 5 minutes. Adrenaline release, full clearance, 5 to 10 minutes. And cortisol stops within 30 to 60 minutes, and full clearance, 1 to 2 hours. But the wildest part, our amygdala, can be over-agitated for up to 3 hours. And coming to suppression of our prefrontal cortex, it starts being suppressed within, say, 0.5 seconds, almost immediately, and full clearance can take up to 1 hour. As you can see, the hormonal flood is very inert. It can affect your mood and thinking abilities for hours. So if you're checking your phone more than every 2 hours, you're living with a chronically overstimulated amygdala, aka chronic stress, ADHD, and all its mental and physical fallout. Even if the content itself doesn't cause any stress, for example, puppies, we understand that we're wasting our time and start judging ourselves, causing stress. And don't forget about neuroplasticity. What we use grows and vice versa. Chronic stress enlarges your amygdala and can shrink your prefrontal cortex, making you dumber. So what does meditation do with all that biological chaos? Meditation gives you a gap between a trigger and the hormonal flood. With practice, you can step into that gap and delay or blunt the release of adrenaline and cortisol. You train your brain to engage the prefrontal cortex, inhibit the amygdala, and sometimes stop the stress cascade altogether, especially if it's socially induced stress. That same gap appears between impulse and action, the urge to scroll, snack, or snap, breaking the loop that causes stress in the first place. Meditation also stabilizes dopamine, reducing noise and enhancing baseline level, which means less craving and less addiction. In other words, you're training your brain to supervise reactions that used to run on autopilot. You're literally training your mindfulness. Even more wild, long-term meditation lowers baseline amygdala activity, making you calmer and harder to trigger. At the same time, it thickens your prefrontal cortex, responsible for cognitive control, and increases the mass and activity of anterior cingulate cortex, responsible for attention and impulse control, hippocampus, memory formation, and stress regulation, insula, body awareness and empathy, thalamus, selective attention. And, of course, enhances connectivity between all that regions. You can literally reshape your brain. And as now it's the only available antidote against cooking your brain by doom scrolling, pornography, high sugar food, vaping and other addictions. And who patented this technique? Who owns the copyright? Well, Buddha. This is insane. It's like Buddha was the first neuroscientist and biohacker who designed a technique to counteract social media brain rot, predicting it 2,500 years before it strikes. And unblurred vision is a must-have skill for any decision maker, from solo entrepreneurs to global CEOs. It's not just about being happy or calm, it's about being decisive and resolute in the chaos of uncertainty and overstimulation. That's probably why half my entrepreneur friends meditate and many have done a full Vipassana retreat. If you ever done Vipassana, please drop a comment. How was it? Shut up and take my money. Wait, what? No Apple Pay? Crypto? Maybe bank transfer? The price is bigger than money. You pay in hours, months, years of daily routine practice. Any shortcuts? Maybe for some extra? Want to speed up the process? Join a Vipassana retreat. 10 days, 10 hours of meditation per day will give you 100 hours of pure practice.
Perfectly pure.
And it's donation-based, money isn't a thing there. So I will have to spend my whole vacation for it? No way. And after the retreat, you will be instructed to meditate 1 hour after waking up and 1 hour before sleep. Every single day. 2 hours a day? Who has that kind of time? A jobless hobo? I have things to do, responsibilities, a business to run, Netflix to watch. Cool. Open your phone right now. Settings, screen time. Well. 3 hours of doom scrolling on Instagram and TikTok, 1 hour swiping on Tinder, but 2 hours to obtain a literal superpower is too much? I guess I have no choice but to try. Where do I sign? Hold up. Check the list of side effects first. You won't be able to bullshit yourself anymore. Wait, so I can't excuse getting drunk and eating half a cake last night by saying I was depressed? Nope. Can I at least roll rage and show middle finger? Once you master the gap between stimulus and reaction, there is no excuses. And that's unbearable for many. You know, all that conscious being stuff. Other side effects? Oh yes, check the fine print. No more conventional sleep. Your deep sleep, non-rapid eye movement phase, stays the same. But during rapid eye movement phase, where we have dreams, you'll be trapped half-conscious. And you will have to observe your brain nonsense generator in real time. That could be fun, sounds like free psychedelics. Studies show that advanced meditators have increased frontal gamma activity during REM sleep, similar to lucid dreamers. I was afraid that it would be detrimental for my health. Surprisingly, I feel well rested. No drop in mental clarity or gym performance, quite the opposite. Just more weirdness added to my already weird life. If you meditate and experienced the same sleep-related side effect, please drop a comment. There are a few studies, but almost no one reports side effects as vivid as mine. What else should I know? For your whole life, your ego has run the show. And when you try to take over, or more accurately, the opposite, let go. For ego, firing it from the CEO position is an existential threat, literally non-existence. So it will convulsively dig up and throw at you your worst fears, most shameful memories and the horniest thoughts, just to keep existing. At the beginning of practice, going through a mild panic attack during meditation, breathing through it and then crying lying on the floor was a matter of daily practice. After about 40 hours of practice, it started to settle. And yes, pain will come. Stiff hip joints, shifted vertebrae in my spine, sometimes an inflamed nerve in my lower back, knees. They used to play a whole symphony of pain. But remember, at the beginning, mild pain is your friend. It helps to come back from dreaming to body awareness and breath. And it's part of the game. I'll instruct how to deal with it when we come to the practice. How am I supposed to survive that brutal beginning phase? Of course, progressive overload principle. Start from shorter time. The only reason I kept going was advice from a friend, a quite legendary entrepreneur, who is the only authority for me after myself. He attended Vipassana and simply said, "You should do it." Thanks! Okay, let's go from useless inspiration to real practice. You should monitor the sensation of the air touching your upper lip when you inhale and exhale. That's basically it. But what about guided meditations and mantras and chakras? Shh. There is only one meditation you should start with, the mother of all meditations, Anapanasati, mindfulness of breath. Breath is the only function you control both consciously and subconsciously. It runs on autopilot until you take the wheel. That makes it perfect bridge between prefrontal cortex and brainstem, between consciousness and subconsciousness. That's why it's the ideal starting point to observe and influence what normally runs hidden. Master the breath first, then comes body scanning and loving kindness meditation and everything else. Should I sit like that? If you weren't raised in Asia and can't sit on the floor the whole day, start simple. Sit on a stool or chair. I will later instruct how to sit in more advanced posture in the end of the video. Back straight, don't lean or slouch, don't rest your head, better sit on the edge. Yes, after some time your back start aching, but that's part of the game, you'll get used to it. Try to master absolutely straight back by rotating your pelvic. Somewhere you will find that balance where your back is absolutely straight. That's it, we're ready to meditate, but I'll do it in my favorite position. Eye closed. Focus on your upper lip and inner part of your nostrils. The subtle sensation of air touching skin as you inhale and exhale. After a couple minutes, thoughts will come. Don't suppress or fight them unless you want a headache. Just observe it and gently shift your attention back to breathing and your upper lip. If you can't feel your upper lip, shift attention to the process of breathing. How your belly expands as you inhale, how your chest is slightly rising, air movement inside your nostrils. Then try to shift your attention back to the upper lip. Observe sensation of the skin there. Subtle difference in temperature occurring between exhale, a brief pause after it, and then inhale. At some point you inevitably start daydreaming again. Gently shift your attention back to your breath. Your mind is like a glass of muddy water. Let it settle. If you try to fight each floating particle or each coming thought, you'll make it worse. So just relax and keep redirecting the beam of your attention back to your breath and the upper lip again and again. Be ready to grasp that subtle feeling of your breath touching your upper lip maybe once or twice during the first 10 minutes. Maybe during your first week. There is no wrong or right thoughts or actions. Whenever you sit in still and gently bringing your attention back to your breath and upper lip, it is meditation, the process of rewiring your brain. Please don't force it and don't be mad at yourself when you dream 10 minutes straight and only once grabs your upper lip sensation. Rewiring takes time. It's like you walked through the forest once and the next day you can't recognize the road. When you start walking every day, you better and better grasp subtle landmarks and your footpath is becoming more and more visible. When pain comes, try to breathe through it. Don't suppress it, don't escape into imagination. Just feel the pain and the breath at the same time. Bring your attention to the discomfort. Gently scan the area. Where exactly is it? Is it sharp, dull, aching, tingling, or maybe just an itch? Just observe. It sounds counterintuitive, but it helps. After some practice, you may come to see there are no good or bad sensations. They simply are. And be patient. 100 hours of practice is probably a beginning when you start to notice persistent changes in your daily life, and it will be easier after. But don't expect anything. Expectations are exactly what we study to let go in meditation. Even if it doesn't make sense right now, just practice for a week. Then come back and rewatch this video. It will make much more sense. Can you give me a training plan? Sure, start simple. 10 minutes after waking up, 10 minutes before bed. Stick with that for a week, then rewatch this video. From there, start adding 1 to 2 minutes a day. Let's say you reached 30 minutes and started feeling pain you can't breathe through. No problem. Drop back to 25, stay there for 2-3 days, then resume increasing. It's not a race or competition. Find a rhythm you can maintain for life. I will definitely look way cooler on Instagram in that sitting posture. Can you give me some instructions? You anyway will need to switch to a proper sitting posture later to minimize passive comfort. Believe me, you'll feel the difference. To sit straight on the ground, we need to create elevation. You see, if I sit on the floor, I cannot keep my back straight, even having pretty good mobility. So use a rolled up rug or yoga mat to create elevation that matches your current mobility. And probably 2 yoga bricks under the yoga mat is the fastest solution for beginners. You see, it creates good elevation and it's very easy to sit straight. And you need something soft under your feet because that parts will ache. I recently passed the 110-hour mark and started automatically asking myself maybe 10 to 20 times a day. What emotion am I feeling right now? Why do I feel that way? What triggered it? What do I want to feel instead? Several times a day I freeze with my phone finger right above Instagram or Tinder or X or whatever, asking, will it make me happy or just increase my agitation? Am I addicted to agitation? What should I do instead right now? And because of that last question, my working performance has increased twice. But the wildest side effect – sudden attacks of uncontrollable, causeless, total happiness. If you experienced anything similar, changes in behavior, attention, emotion, please drop a comment. I'd love to hear your story. Here are my practice numbers. Nothing impressive, I am not talking from a pedestal, just sharing my experience. As you can see, I even skip sometimes. But I've passed 100 hours and it became obvious that it's probably the most important practice in my life. And of course, I am planning to visit a Vipassana retreat this year. Okay, enough YouTube! It's your time to start rewiring your brain and becoming a more resilient, happy and resolute person. Rewatch this video after 1 week of practice and share your personal experience in the comments. And don't hesitate to ask questions, I'll be happy to answer. Have fun with building your brand new brain and brand new life.